Mercedes and the W14 going into Jeddah, and the news that we have going into really their short-term, medium, and long-term plans. So as we know, the W14 is a iffy car, and more things have came out as to where the problems really lie at. Recent stuff has came out that the actual side pods aren't really the part that is really messing up the team, but they do want radical changes, so they will change. But clearly, through all the talks, the actual geometry of the underfloor and the floor from the top is what is really ruining and making the car extremely draggy and not where it needs to be. The W14 improved a lot upon its porpoising problem that the W13 had. As we know, and we talked about in the last video, Mike Elliott worked on the W13 and the 14. We do know that James Allison is also coming back. That is a huge thing for Mercedes and can really put them back up because he is the guy that made the 2020 car, the 2019 car, and the 2018 car, which are all extremely successful cars. Let me not forget the 2021, which is also a very successful car, won constructors, won 4 constructors, and 3 drivers' championships. I mean, that is a pedigree, and definitely one of the only guys that can actually compete with Adrian Newey is James Allison. Clearly, he is the man for the job to actually go into this underfloor era with Adrian Newey. Dan Follows definitely looks like a matchup as well. If we go off of who is the bigger aero guy, obviously Adrian Newey is going to take the cake. Dan Follows is his prodigy, and James Allison has made a lot of successful cars throughout his whole entire really career. But we really haven't seen James Allison work on one car yet at Mercedes with the ground floor effect. He did help on the W13, and a lot of the concept actually came from James and Mike working together. But now it's a completely different team over there with Mike Elliott working on the car, and a lot of things have came out with the whole ultimatum given. But recently, and a couple days ago, there was a whole letter put out where Mercedes is not pointing fingers, and they're definitely trying to actually solve the situation. They talk about letting the fans down, which I feel like is pretty crazy that they have to actually put out a statement. Nobody really wants an apology. Everybody kind of just wants the car to be worked on and to really just put it onto track. They don't like people talking. Mercedes does a lot of talk before going into the year, and obviously it brings around a lot of hype, so when you don't actually perform to that hype, it doesn't really look well on Mercedes. Their car is still very good. I mean, they're fighting for a 4th, if not 3rd position off of the first race. If you're in a situation like McLaren, then I understand an apology, or Ferrari for DNFing in the first race. Like, those are apology, I guess, accepted welcomes, but not really with what they're doing. They still have a good car, they just have to build a lot off of it. But as I was talking about, the geometry under the floor and the top of the floor, this is mainly built by Mike Elliott, and I mean, maybe they are saying in the media that there is this letter now that's like, oh, okay, we're not pointing fingers and that. Obviously, it's going to go somewhere. Where is this going to be actually pointed to? Who will bring this Mercedes team back together? They're probably going to give Mike Elliott some type of like, listen, we got to bring the car back. Let's work on this. If not, we're bringing back James Allison. And we do know that James Allison is already back there in the Mercedes squad and has found already draggy parts in the front wing, the underfloor, and really the geometry as I was talking about. And they did change the front wing pretty drastically to what it was last year. Last year, the front wing had to go along with the airflow of the car because of its huge rear wing on the back. We do know that they tried a lot of things. They had that one front wing that came in USA that they never ended up actually using. And listen, time is relative. 2023 has just started. Listen, if they fail Bahrain, Saudi, and Australia becoming Baku and they're only 2/10 behind, they can make it up. Even with the completely new car concept, we still don't understand these cars' underfloors and really the way that these cars perform to the full extent. Mercedes could still be back into this fight. What really intrigues me to make this is that actually Mercedes is not giving up. What everybody was thinking, trash the car, go into 2024. Timing is relative. Anybody can come back in the sport, whether it be a back marker or somebody at the top. You could fall too. It happens to any team. And we've seen it throughout the years that really Ferrari starts off strong and falls off. Sure, Red Bull is a different breed, and they got Adrian Newey who could look at a wall and see the aerodynamics going through the wall and what's the best way to create the wall. But listen, mistakes happen. Mistakes have happened at Mercedes. And will improvements come? Yes. Toto even talks about it. Listen, no pointing fingers. Nobody should be a grouch about it, specifically talking about Lewis. I'll get into that in just a second. But that they are working on right after the race, that this car will come out. And Jeddah upgrades are expected, visual ones. Visual ones for Jeddah, Australia, but then Baku will be the big, it's either Baku or Imola. I don't really have a good standpoint on it yet, but we do know that a huge upgrade package is coming, and it will be in one of those two races. But we will be seeing visible, aggressive changes in Jeddah, in Australia, to improve the car, specifically the downforce, because if Mercedes doesn't have the good downforce in Jeddah, it could prove to be bad. But on the bright side, going into Jeddah, I do have Mercedes performing a lot better into Jeddah than in Bahrain, because straight line speed was big time improved and less tire degradation. I expect them to be performing at the top. Will they be as fast as Red Bull? I don't think so. Will they be closer? Yes. I do not expect an 8/10 gap. And I will actually have a video later on this week coming out explaining for every single team where I think they'll be relative to the top of the field. Now, speaking about Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton came out and said that the W14 was not made to how he wanted it to be made. And this kind of gives me reasoning to believe that the blame is probably being pointed towards Mike Elliott and the engineers. Lewis Hamilton is a winner. From 2014 to now, he has won over 6 championships, 6 world championships, could have even had 7 if it wasn't for 2021. And he was not being really trusted onto this car. He sacrificed half the year in that W13 to try and improve it. And guess what? It did improve. The car went from not a back marker, it went from a 3rd place, and still a good car, but a huge porpoising car with a lot of problems, to a car that was genuinely pretty good at the end of the year. They were maybe only 5/10 off of Red Bull in Abu Dhabi and actually won a race on merit. So now the W14 comes out, no porpoising, but a lot of other problems. So clearly it didn't move in the direction that Lewis was expecting. Could this change throughout time? Extremely. And maybe we will see results very quickly. I do expect Lewis to perform a lot better in Jeddah. I expect this Mercedes team to turn it around. Everybody in the media is even talking about, listen, Mercedes will turn it around. Let's not slack on the guys. We know who this team is. We know that there's some of the top guys in F1. And some of the news revolving around them could really prove to be a great weekend in Jeddah. What are your guys' thoughts? Do you guys believe that these Jeddah upgrades coming? Lewis Hamilton's thoughts? James Allison coming back? Is this positive signs for the W14 and Mercedes? Please leave your thoughts down below. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that this W14 is savable? Will a B spec come out that will be a lot better? Please leave a like, subscribe. It would mean the world, and peace.